I'm just going to today just demonstrating how to make, how to make a ganache, and I'm probably pronouncing it completely wrong. Does everyone know how to pronounce it better?
No, I didn't know how you pronounced it.
I don't think it's Ganache, I think it's Ganache. But anyway, there's a French chocolatier across the way, I need to ask him. But what a Ganache is it's not been around really for a long time. It was in about the 18th century that the story is that in a French kitchen there was a trainee chef who by accident put chocolate into a creme anglaise, and they thought that was the whole thing ruined, but when he kind of beat it up, it turned into something that we all know and love now. And the head chef called him a ganache, which is a fool in French. So I love these little stories. But so what, you know, it's very, so I mean, it's I suppose quite amazing to think that there was nothing before, you know, before that there wasn't ganache, because a lot of centres that we're used to are ganache. Even the praline ones are, you know, a chocolate mixed with a kind of praline base, you know, so they're very, very popular, and they're very versatile. You can put, you know, lots of different things in them. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate today how to make a Scottish ale and cinnamon ganache. Okay, now you can try loads of different things, but what I like is milk chocolate goes. I've tried a few different things, but milk chocolate I think goes quite nice with this. And I've got, again, you know, you can try something different, but I've got a kind of nice, strong tasting beer. And what you require is I've got 500 milligrams of chocolate. So first of all, you need to melt your chocolate. Okay, so I've got that melted slowly. And this is over a bain-marie, okay, but to be honest, come on in. We're just demonstrating how to make a ganache. But if you've got a microwave, which probably you'll have, then really do it in the microwave, because this is a kind of takes for ages. Now, if you're melting chocolate in the microwave, 500 milliwatts, okay, so not particularly high power. I go for 50. Mine says 50% power, okay, and then check it every minute, okay, because it scorches, it burns, and then the chocolate's completely ruined. There's nothing you can do with it, because it flavours the whole chocolate, and it gives that, it just actually burns. You get a really gritty, horrible, you know, it ruins the whole batch, and chocolate's really quite expensive. So it's your most expensive ingredient, so you don't want to waste it. So 500 milliwatts or 50% power, and then check it every minute, stirring it, you know, in the microwave, okay? It usually takes 500 milligrams, maybe take about, you know, about 3 minutes to melt, okay? So we're going to have to wait for that to melt. Now, I start with my Scottish ale, right, which I've had bubbling away on at my stall for about 20 minutes, because I've reduced it, okay, to about double strength, okay? As you can see, I've had it cooking with some cinnamon sticks, okay? So I've got my cinnamon sticks here, and so that's double strength. You think, oh my goodness, that's kind of very strong, but it's a shame actually I have forgotten my little sticks, because I do quite like you all to have a wee try at this at the end. I might run up and get them. Okay, so as I say, I've reduced that to half. Now, what you require, you've got 500 milligrams of chocolate. You're going to need 230 milligrams of this. Okay, so I'm just going to weigh this, because I've reduced it. It's very important to use weights rather than volumes, because volumes can change with different temperatures. Your weight's accurate. See, we're overdoing it. You don't want to kind of have it. This is a cheap stove, and it kind of it goes on or off.
A good tradesman never blames a tool.
Come on in.
I'm in.
Do you want to see? We're doing how to make a ganache. Okay. So you can sort it for your Christmas truffles, no problem. Right. So I'm doing this. Now, I started with about 400 mils of that. Okay, 400 grams, and I've basically got 175 grams now. So that's good, because what I like to do is add a little bit of my ale at the end, because I'm making it up to 230, because what happens then, okay, and I've balanced it from my scales, what happens then is you've got a little bit of alcohol in it, which is quite a good preservative, okay? So I'm then going to, I'm doing reasonably well. Chocolate's melting. You need one of these fantastic Valona spatulas.
It's quite a big one.
Ah, it's brilliant. You look serious if you've got a big spatula. Right, so that's 230 grams in there, and I've trained it enough to get rid of any flakes or cinnamon, which is quite important. Okay, now into that I've got my honey, so I'm going to put that in. Now it's 50 grams of honey. Now honey's very good to use in your truffles. Well, one, it goes really well with beer. In this particular recipe, it's very nice, and it's a forest honey, so it's actually quite a strong honey. So I like it with this. It complements the flavour of the beer. But honey is also very good because it's like a natural invert sugar. So with invert sugar, it stops crystallisation. Okay, so that grainy texture that you can get. So all my honey in there, and we want to heat this to boiling. Now, if you're using like, for example, if you've decided to make just a fresh cream truffle, you want to boil your cream, okay? Because it obviously sterilises it, and you have to. It helps with making the emulsion, which is what the process of making a ganache is. We've got a wee bit more in there to see. So what I'll do is, if you don't mind at the end, can we all pop up to my stall and you can all have a little taste of this and see what you think of it?
No, we can't exactly stick our fingers.
No,
Probably get burnt and it's unhygienic.
Yeah, I've got little sticks with me, so it's very good if you can have a wee taste of it so you know what it's like. Right, so I've got that on. We bring that to the boil. We're trying to check. Remember, moisture in chocolate's a disaster, okay? So any water in your chocolate isn't good, but you can still use it. You can use it for a number of things. You can't use it for coating chocolates because what happens is it seizes, it goes kind of like a paste. But you can use it for anything else. You can use it for your centre. So if you have sort of ruined your chocolate with a little bit of water, don't worry about it. You can still use it for anything. Puddings, mousses, anything like that, as long as anything that requires melting. Okay, so we've got that melting. There we go. It's coming along nicely. We'll just move that so everybody can see. And then you need one of these. Okay, the handheld blenders are really important to finish it off. So the two things that, the most important thing when you're making a ganache is that you have to beat very, very briskly. Has anybody tried to make one before? Also, what's really crucial is you get your weights correct. The thing about chocolate is, or any kind of recipe, is that if you kind of get your weights wrong, you're going to ruin the recipe. It's particularly important with chocolate because what you need is, this is a 40% cocoa solids chocolate. So if you were using something that didn't have so much cocoa solids in it, let's say 35%, you'd have to add a bit more. Okay, and the way to do that is to multiply them both and divide by whatever your percentage is. Do you know what I mean? That's how you it's no maths, I need a blackboard. we'll ignore that. But it's quite important. They do specify in all recipes, they will specify what percentage of cocoa solids. Okay. So that's nearly melted. Getting there. You don't really need to stir it. When you're melting white chocolate, you do need to stir it more. But milk chocolate, and dark chocolate, you can just not bother stirring much at all. Doesn't that look lovely? My kids just like it like that. Aye. Don't like me ruining it and putting anything else in it. So the other ingredient that this has is butter. Okay, so we've only, it's quite simple. That's the thing about a ganache. It's basically a combination of chocolate that's melted, your liquid, which is the water and the protein element. So the fat comes from the chocolate. Okay, and that's what an emulsion, what you're doing is creating an emulsion. You're basically doing what you do when you make a mayonnaise. Okay, you've got a liquid protein combined with a fat, and you blend them two together. And you know when you make a mayonnaise, you have to really beat extremely vigorously, so that's really what you're doing. And add slowly. Yeah, has anybody made a mayonnaise before? Yeah. So you're the expert then. Right, so we're almost there with that. And often the important thing is, remember when you're making your chocolates is getting the concentrations is right, because what when they're looking at shelf life, they talk about the water activity of a chocolate, so basically how much water is in it. So that's why having the right ingredients, you know, if you stick to your recipe, then you know, for example, I use recipes that have been tried and tested because I was trained at Valrhona, so I know the shelf life of all of them, because they've done massive research on it. Right, so we're almost there with that. It doesn't need to be completely melted, because what you're doing is you're going to be sticking in a boiling mixture in it, so I'll just move that out of the way. So we've got the chocolate. This is where it tends to go all over you. Get an apron on. So you can see I've really pretty much got it all melted. And butt in and ask any questions you want as we go, okay? Anybody, I'm doing okay for time, good. Right, so we've nearly got that boiled, okay? And then I've got my butter. Now, it required 80 grams of butter. This is like a butter ganache, okay? And the butter's really quite important, because the butter gives it the consistency, okay? Right, so that's fine. So now this is a key thing, right? You're adding the chocolate. Sorry, you're adding the liquid. And as I say, it could be absolutely anything. You could go for fruit pulp, just cream flavoured with something like, for example, I do a truffle with orange blossom and rose water. Now you look at this, you think, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? That's all going a bit wrong. But then this is all looking good. And what it sort of tends to get very, very thick. Now, I'll show you. This looks like, people think, oh dear, I've done something completely wrong, this is a disaster. But this is actually what you want. What you want to do is, you've really got to get in there, you see. Look, I've already made a mess. You've got to get in there, you're meant to do it really. This is not my favourite bowl because it's not deep enough, but I've had to do it. So you've really got to get a bit of muscle in. Which I haven't got any muscle to it. See, it's smoothing, it started smooth, but did you notice just a little bit earlier on, it was quite grainy, it split. And really, you're aiming actually for a split in the mixture, because then it comes together. See, chocolate is a complicated thing. You know, what's important is that it crystallises. So what you want is we won't get too scientific, but the 5 crystals kind of come out, and that's the fat comes out, that's the cocoa butter out of the chocolate, and then so it splits, and you want that, and then it restabilises as you kind of mix it. So, and you think it's important to remember when you get this, that, you know, it looks awful runny, and you think, oh goodness, how can I make a truffle with this? But in two, you have to let it rest. And it sets quite quickly, so but the thing is, you have to really ideally leave it at about 16 degrees for 2 days. Okay? Don't put it in the fridge. That's what they say, you know, to leave it at 16 degrees. So it's smooth now, okay? So what I'm going to do, did you all see that bit in the split though? Yeah, that was really important, that stage. So what they talk about is doing it in thirds, you know, adding the liquid in thirds. So I've got it like that, and now I'm going to blend it. When you're using the blender, keep the blender under the surface so you won't get bumped in. It's important important if you're using making a chocolate glaze.